Hey everyone, and welcome. Let's get right into a question that I think is on a lot of our minds. Is the internet, this thing we are plugged into almost 24/7, actually, physically, changing how our brains work?
I mean, have you ever found yourself rereading the same email over and over? Or you feel that little buzz in your pocket and poof, whatever you were thinking about is just gone? Does it feel like your focus is constantly being shattered into a million tiny pieces?
Well, if any of that sounds familiar, I want you to know you are definitely not alone. This is a real, shared feeling in our digital world. And the really fascinating part is that science is now giving us a language to understand what's going on inside our own heads.
Okay, so let's start with our attention spans, or, what's left of them. This feeling of being constantly distracted, it actually has a scientific name. It's called continuous partial attention. And what's wild is that this term was coined way back in 1998 by a tech researcher named Linda Stone. This isn't multitasking, which is trying to do two things at once. No, this is different. It's a state of keeping tabs on everything at a low level, but never truly diving deep into any one thing. You're on a work call, but you're also kind of checking your email, and then a news alert pops up. Yeah, that's it right there. So living in this state of continuous partial attention has literally forced our brains to find shortcuts. And one of the biggest changes we see is in the fundamental way we read.
This is so fascinating. Researchers have used eye-tracking technology and discovered that when we read online, we don't read line by line. We skim in a distinct pattern that looks kind of like the letter F or Z. We'll read the first couple of lines, then our eyes just jump down the page, plucking out keywords. We're basically becoming information hunters, not deep-sea divers.
And this really lays out the trade-off, doesn't it? On one hand, you have deep reading. It's immersive, it builds critical thinking, even empathy. And on the other, you have skimming. It's fast, it's efficient, it gets the job done. We're gaining incredible speed, for sure, but we might be losing true, deep understanding in the bargain.
Neuroscientist Marianne Wolf just nails it with this quote. She says that when we're skimming, we just don't give our brains the time to grapple with complexity or to connect with another person's perspective. What she's really saying is that those mental muscles for deep thought, if we stop exercising them, they could get weaker.
So that's our attention. But it doesn't stop there. It's also changing what our brains decide is even worth remembering in the first place. The term for this is cognitive offloading. It's a fancy way of saying we're outsourcing our memory to our devices. I mean, why bother memorizing a fact when you know you can just pull out your phone and Google it in 2 seconds? We've basically made the internet our external hard drive. We don't need to know the thing itself. We just need to know how to find it.
And this isn't just a hunch. It's been proven. There was this landmark study back in 2011 that first showed what they called the Google effect. So researchers had 2 groups of people type a bunch of trivia facts. They told one group that all the facts would be saved. They told the other group, sorry, everything's going to be erased. And the result? It was incredible. The group that thought the information was disappearing remembered the facts way, way better. Their brains knew they couldn't rely on an external tool, so they did the work to actually remember.
And check this out. It's not just trivia. It bleeds into our actual personal memories. Scientists have found something called the photo-taking impairment effect, which means the very act of taking a photo of something can make you less likely to remember it clearly. It's like your brain subconsciously goes, okay, the phone's got this one, and it just offloads the memory. How wild is that?
Okay, so our attention is scattered, and we're outsourcing our memory. So what? What are the real downstream consequences of these cognitive shifts? Well, the effects start to add up. Over-relying on GPS, for example, can weaken our own internal sense of direction. We can also get this inflated sense of knowledge. We feel smarter because we can look anything up, but we're confusing access to information with actual understanding. And all that skimming makes us less patient with complex ideas, and really critically, it can make us more vulnerable to misinformation because we're not engaging the deep critical thinking needed to question what we see.
Now, it is worth pointing out that people have worried about new technology for, well, forever. Look at this. All the way back in 370 BC, Socrates was worried that writing would make people forgetful. He said it would give them the show of wisdom without the reality. Sounds pretty familiar, right? But while the fear itself isn't new, the sheer speed and scale of today's technology really does present a brand new challenge. So after all that, is the takeaway just doom and gloom? Are our brains just permanently rewired for distraction? No, not at all. The solution isn't to throw our phones in the river. It's about getting smarter and more intentional with how we use them. And this is the most hopeful part. It all comes down to a fundamental rule of neuroscience: use it or lose it. Our brains are incredibly plastic, meaning they can change and adapt.
The very same process that strengthens our skimming circuits can be used to beef up our deep thinking circuits. We have the power to choose which muscles we work out. So the goal here isn't to become anti-technology. The goal is to develop what experts like Marianne Wolf call a biliterate brain. Think of it like being bilingual. You have a brain that's fluent in the fast-paced, skimming language of the internet, but is also fluent in the slow, deep, immersive language of a book. It's about having both tools in your toolkit and knowing when to use each one.
So how do we actually do this? Well, we can start by being more conscious. Maybe that means picking up a physical book, or carving out 30 minutes a day for a single focused task with no notifications allowed. It's really about being deliberate. Before you start something, just ask yourself, does this task need my fast, skimming brain, or does it deserve my slow, deep thinking brain?
In the end, our phones, our laptops, the entire internet, they're just tools, but they are incredibly powerful tools that are, without a doubt, shaping who we are and how we think. The question isn't if they're changing us. That's already happening. The real question is, how will you choose to be shaped? Thanks so much for tuning in.